Hello, hello, hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Inglês no Rádio. I am here with the one, the only, da-da. Who am I here with?
Alexia. Hey guys.
Hey Alexia, how you doing?
I'm fine. What about you?
I am good. To be honest, I'm a little bit sleepy, but that's okay.
That's okay. It's normal.
Yeah.
We've been going to bed really early and waking up really early for the past 1-2 weeks.
Yeah, daylight savings. Do you know how to say daylight savings in Portuguese?
A gente tem horário de verão. But fuso horário is the difference.
The time zone.
Time zone.
Yeah, I think you would just say horário de verão.
But horário de verão is the opposite, I think. It's like when you have more time.
Yeah, we use the same word for both.
Ah.
Yeah, daylight savings time. Anyway, I think that's kind of stupid. I want more light.
Also, I think that there is no horário de verão anymore in Brazil.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Anyway, that is definitely not what we are trying to talk about today. So, Alexia, what I wanted to do today, our Sound School course. Sound School is our pronunciation and conversation course. It's awesome. It is live. Applications are open, and we are getting a lot of questions. So I just wanted to sit down with you, talk about the course, get everything on record, just so everyone's on the same page.
Of course.
Okay. What do you think about that? Do you want to start talking about Sound School?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So I think a good place to start, first Sound School is composed of 20 weeks. So each week we focus on a specific topic regarding pronunciation or conversation. So a specific aspect, that could be a lot of different things, like a sound, for example, the TH sound, the final M sound. But we also do a lot more advanced things, like training intonation, difficult conversation, situations like that, stress. So we have 20 weeks and we talk about a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah. One question that I get a lot, either from Instagram, email, whatever, is that, okay, so I listen to your podcast every single day and I learn all these things with y'all. What's the difference between the podcast and Sound School?
Oh boy, that's a big question. I don't know where to start. Can we come back to that question after we explain a little bit more about Sound School? I think it will make more sense.
Okay.
Cool. So in each week of Sound School, we kind of have the approach that I call integrated learning, which just means you're using a variety of different materials and resources in each lesson. So each week we have video classes. That's usually me, sometimes me and Alexia, sometimes just Alexia, talking and explaining something about English, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also have a ton of audio resources. Obviously, we are podcasters. We love audio. So that's kind of a key part of the course, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we do a lot of work with minimal pairs. So if you don't know, minimal pairs are two words that are very, very similar, but they have one sound that is different.
Yes.
Do you have any examples of minimal pairs? I can give you some of the classics, the funny ones.
Yeah. Sheet and shit.
There we go. Also like beach and bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we use minimal pairs a lot to isolate and correct sounds. Also, we have something that I'm really proud of. I think it's really cool, called pronunciation beats.
That's all on Foster. He created that.
Dung, 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 dung. Yeah, the idea was to try to make things a little bit more musical. So I learned a lot of Brazilian Portuguese through music, and I wanted to try to transfer that experience into our courses. But learning like an entire song in English can be a little bit harder. So we just isolate different sounds and we put them to a beat. So it's a lot more fun. It's easier to memorize. And I think it's a really cool way to train your pronunciation.
Yes, it is. It's really weird when you start doing that because you're not used to do that, of course. And then when you get the beat, you are really into that, and it's all about the repetition.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It's just like going to the gym, getting those biceps.
Yeah. I got an email today from one of our students. I think it's Paula. And she was like, oh my God, my mouth and my tongue are hurting so much, but I think that it's working.
Yeah, that's true. If you are really training pronunciation, like truly learning new muscle movements in your mouth should hurt after like 30 minutes of training.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't think about that. Learning a new language is painful.
It is.
Yeah. So one of my favorite audio resources that we have is called Alexia Analyzed. What do you think about that?
I think this is, I don't know about the Alexa Analyze. I think that I am on a therapy session and I'm being analyzed, but that's all about because Foster is analyzing my mistakes and correcting me with everything that I did for the challenges. So you guys can have an idea of how to do it and when to do it.
Yeah. So in each week of Sound School, we have what we call feedback sessions or practice sessions, where you have an opportunity to really train the sounds that you learned. And we also have weekly challenges that are just designed to get you outside of your comfort zone, to really make you do some crazy things. And each week, Alexia does all of these challenges with us. And I have the privilege of analyzing my girlfriend's English, which I do every day anyway. Okay. Any questions so far, Alexia?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So I think that gives a pretty decent idea to our listeners about what is in each week of Sound School. Now I think it's important to talk about, we've really worked hard on this to make sure that it seems like you are consistently making progress. So people are not getting stuck. There is a flow and a natural structure to the course. So we have 5 modules. Do you know what a module is?
Module?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So module number 1, where we start the course. Alexia, can I get a drum roll, please?
No.
Can I get a drum roll, please?
Drrrr.
Oh, bah. Yeah, so module 1 is just an introduction to the sounds of English. So this is probably not what most people are expecting, but essentially this is like a crash course into English pronunciation and phonology. Do you understand what I'm saying when I say crash course?
Yes, like it's very in-depth. It's when you're diving into something, right?
Kind of. A crash course is more like learning a lot very fast. So kind of the opposite. For example, if you're taking a crash course on, I don't know, finance, maybe for like 5 days, you learn the basics of finance, right?
Okay. And then you learn a lot of things very fast.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, those how-to guides for dummies, like how to use a computer for dummies. It's kind of like that. So we are not trying to get a PhD in pronunciation and phonology. We are just teaching you the things that you need to know about the way language works, the way your mouth works, the things that no one teaches you, like what is the difference between a vowel and a consonant? How do we produce different sounds in English? How does our tongue work when we are talking? Just this super simple stuff that no one ever talks about.
Yeah. So it's like what Foster said, like we are not trying to, we are trying to give you the knowledge of what you should do during the course and what you need to be aware during the course, because you need to be aware of your mouth. You need to be aware of your tongue. You need to be aware when the how do I say this? The air is coming through and out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And this is all about module 1.
Module.
Module 1.
Module
1.
There we go. Yeah, it's just the fundamentals. Imagine if you are learning to play soccer, you have to know how to run and how to kick the ball before you play soccer, right?
Yeah.
In Module 1, we are just giving you the fundamentals, the things you need to know.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, Module 2 is one of my favorites. So in the second part of the course, we focus on the most difficult sounds for Brazilians.
Yeah.
That's you.
That's me.
Yeah. So do you have an example of some sounds that are really difficult for you?
The schwa sound.
Yes, the schwa sound, o som do schwa. That is super difficult for a lot of Brazilians. I think another one that comes to mind, the TH sound.
And the final M for a lot of people.
Yeah, the final M, closing your mouth with the final M sound in words like from. I cannot tell you how many times I talk about that each day.
Yeah.
But this section is really important to me because I really want our students to be as effective as possible. So learning a language is really hard. It takes a long time, and you can save a lot of time, a lot of effort just by focusing on other people's mistakes. So Brazilians, when they're learning English, like 95% of Brazilians will make the same mistakes. So it's probably good to focus on those, be aware of them, and correct them as soon as possible.
Yeah, one thing that I was talking to maybe one of our future students, he was like, you can't teach a new trick for an old dog.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
we say an old dog can't learn new tricks or something, or can learn. I don't know.
Can't,
yeah.
Yeah. And damn right you can. I mean, my dad he is 74.
My dad has. Meu Deus.
My dad is 74 years old and he's learning Italian. And I mean, he's an old dog.
Yeah.
You can't teach new tricks for old dogs. You just need to be motivated. You need to want to do that. So that's why Module 2 is so important for us Brazilians, because we'll be learning everything that no one never taught us. And
what?
Huh?
That no one never taught us.
Ensinou.
Okay, first a double negative. In English, you cannot say no one never. You would say no one ever.
No one ever taught us.
Taught
us.
Yeah, a lot of times, Alexia, I'm not sure why you want to put a TH in the beginning of the word.
Because I get so freaked out with the TH that I want to put everywhere.
Yeah, it's just taught.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say that with me?
Taught.
There we go. Yeah, Model 2 is really about using your time effectively and kind of breaking bad habits. There will always be difficult sounds for Brazilians, and we want to address those and correct those as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Cool. Are we ready for Model 3?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I say model, sometimes I say module. Same thing. Level 3 is all about leveling up your English. So we call this sophistication and articulation, because really the idea is you don't want to just speak English. You want to speak English well. You
don't want to speak like a robot.
Exactly. You want to be able to express yourself and communicate your ideas in a similar way that you could in Portuguese. So that's what we focus on in Module 3, is really thinking about the more nuanced and perhaps complicated issues with language, like intonation, rhythm, stress, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, everything that we already have when we speak Portuguese, you are going to learn when you're speaking English, because you need to know, like, when you're telling a joke, when you are singing, when you are talking more formally, when you are talking with friends, you need to have this intonation and know where the stress is going, and the rhythm is the most important part as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that I got a lot better with that.
Yeah. I really like this section because if you're still in the beginning stages of your English, this will really help you understand some things that you never thought about. But if you are more intermediate or quite advanced even, these are things that everyone can always improve. You can always improve your intonation, your stress, your rhythm, these more nuanced aspects of language.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, Module 4. We call this Conversation is King. What do you think about that title?
I like that title.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to call the entire course, because that's the point. We want to talk to people. We want to have conversations, connect to native speakers, right?
Yes, that's the main point about the Sound School course.
Right. So in this section, we give you a lot of different tactics and strategies and exercises and resources to really think about conversation differently, so you can speak in Portuguese much more confident, or speak in English much more confidently, especially without translating directly from Portuguese, and how to understand native speakers in really fast conversations. So the fourth section is really focused on taking your game to the next level in terms of speaking to people in a more sophisticated manner, in a more elegant way.
Yes, and if you think about it, you start with the fundamentals and then you go to the most difficult sounds for Brazilians, and then you learn how to speak with intonation and rhythm, and like we are giving you confidence to get to the end of the 20 weeks, to the final module.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the final module, last but not least, we call this Tools and Techniques, which doesn't really capture the entire section. But the point of this last section is to give you all of the tools, resources, knowledge you need to continue learning English forever by yourself. So you can be an autodidact. You don't need teachers. You have the skills you need.
Yes, because it's a non-stop learning. That's for sure.
Yeah. Learning a new language never stops. So we talk about a lot of things like habits, your future goals with English, routines. We also talk about how to use different resources.
Like music.
Music, when you're watching videos, what's the most effective way to do that? How to learn English through song. All of these things that you can really use for life. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be here forever. Your English teacher's not always going to be by your side. At the end of the day, you have to have these skills and you have to put them into practice.
Yes. So, going back to that first question, what's the biggest difference between our podcast and Sound School?
Okay, well, first of all, we do the podcast every day. It is a daily free resource where Alexia and I talk about things. In Sound School, it is a very comprehensive course where we focus on every possible aspect of pronunciation and conversation, and it's specifically designed for Brazilians and maximizing your learning.
And more than that, here during the podcast, you are listening to us. You're getting better at your listening skills, right? When you are taking Sound School and being really, really serious about your English, you will be practicing and talking and speaking and opening your mouth and really, really doing the exercises. Because if you only listen to us, that's fine. You're getting better at your listening, but you won't be practicing as you should be.
Yeah.
So that's why we created Sound School.
Yeah, I would say the two biggest differences between podcast and Sound School. First, the podcast is much more active. So our listeners, or the podcast is much more passive. Sorry. So our listeners are simply listening to us. They're learning new vocabulary and stuff, but it's not a super active activity, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Sound School, you are doing stuff all the time. You're training new sounds, and it is a very proactive process.
And you are out of your comfort zone.
Yes. And the second distinction I would make between the podcast and Sound School, the podcast is fun, and it is very, I hope it's entertaining to listen to some of the time. Sound School is work. I'm not saying that it's not fun sometimes.
No, it's fun, but you're going to be really suffering with something.
It's like boot camp. I mean, I imagine on the podcast, if I said, okay, this is the TH sound. Here are some examples Okay, now let's train these phrases 1,000 times. No one would listen to the podcast. So the Sound School is for the people that want to put in the work to really take their English to the next level.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, I hope we did a decent job explaining that. Sometimes these things, after we've worked with them so much, it's difficult to know if I'm making sense or not. But I think that did.
We did.
Cool. All right. If you're interested in Sound School, applications are open. And just go to inglesnucru.com.
Yes, go there and sign up today.
Awesome. Cool. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Bye.